I am here with Keith Bresee. He's an amazing SEO first content marketer. We're thrilled to have him on the channel. And he actually reached out to me, was telling me an amazing story that you guys have to hear about how he's using content at scale, AI content to grow incredible traffic streams. We're talking millions of traffic visitors. And he went from paying, I think, 15,000 a month in content to 5,000. So some dramatic savings there, but he didn't lose quality. He was still able to maintain this high caliber of content quality. First of all, Keith, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? We'll start there.
So it all started back in 1989. I'm just kidding. It's true. But
Whoa.
I know, right? A lot of SEOs, people who have built a website, will have some amount of relatability to this. This is like 12 years ago. I went to school for photography and graphics and video and whatnot. And I was just married, kid on the way. I'm like, I'm not going to, I'm going to go against the buck. I'm not doing a 9 to 5. I just quit my Walmart job. And true story. I'm like, I'm doing a photography course for moms who buy digital cameras and don't know how to use them. Did it, spent 6 months living at my mom and dad's with my family, next to no income. And I launched my website. And I very clearly remember waking up the next day because I had set up Google Analytics that night prior. And I very clearly, my thick iMac was on our bar and in the kitchen. And I very swiftly ran into the kitchen from my bedroom when I woke up. And I'm just waiting to see whether I have sales or how many visitors I got from Google, and I open up Google Analytics. I'm like, all those zeros. And I'm just like, I was so confused. I was legit royally confused. And that started my SEO journey. And that was, like I said, 12, maybe 13 years ago, right around this time of the year. And I got one great referral from Brian Harris of Growth Tools now, then Video Fruit. That was when he was doing eBay stuff. And he hired me, and we were doing, like I said, eBay stuff. And he said, hey, I have this friend, Brian Dean, who just came out with this really cool post called the skyscraper technique. Give it a read and see if you want to do it for me. I'm like, okay, and I think I'm making like hourly with him, or like minimum wage ish. And because he's just starting out too.
Yeah.
And he's like, how much do you want to charge to do all that? And this is my first consulting thing of any kind. I was basically an in-person VA. And I'm like, I don't know, you want to say $75? 2 weeks later, I completed it. But we crushed it and got, I don't know, like 60, 70 links or something like that. I still have this spreadsheet with all the links that we acquired. And we were going after, I think the term was lead magnet. And we, in like 4 months, outranked Lead Pages, HubSpot, Neil Patel's Growth Sprout, or whatever that Quick Sprout, whatever it was way back then. And he then referred me to Noah Kagan, who was my second client. And Noah referred me to people, and I've been doing SEO ever since.
Wow, what an amazing start. Much like you, I started very, very cheap. So I relate to that a lot. But you also started with some industry heroes. So what a great first experience to actually get started with legends.
Well, funny enough, his book is in my backpack, but Noah's book that he just came out with is the process that when I'm getting ready to launch, in the process of launching a new coaching thingy, but whether it's that or growing my agency, the 2 different times that I've had to do it, another story. All times I've used his process for growing a business. And then this is like 2011, 12. Noah had an in-person monthly 1K group for $200. 50 people came to Austin. Brian Harris is one of them. And little did I know at the time when meeting Brian that he lived 30 minutes away from me in Nashville. And that's how I first met Noah. And it was this perfect serendipitous series of events that happened after that allowed me to move out of my family's house, my parents' house.
Amazing. Well, I think that story is so relatable. It's just gives a real picture of you weren't always at the top of the mountain. You really worked your way up. You learned the hard way. So much respect for that journey. So let's switch over into this new land that you and I both are in of AI that kind of blew up when ChatGPT came out November 2022 and was the world's fastest adapted technology. Like, how was your journey going from that human-only content approach to finding content at scale? You tell us about those moments.
My first introduction to AI, which I'm sure a lot of people in this space is a similar story, was then Jarvis, now Jasper.ai.
Mm,
And
yeah.
it was version one. I still have my membership with them just because I'm grandfathered in, and it's great for simple stuff with their frameworks.
Mhm.
Short, I use it for short form stuff here and there. That was my introduction to AI, and I've never thought about AI really prior to that. Because other than that, it's Jarvis type of stuff
Mm.
from Iron Man, or TV or movie cinema,
Yeah.
and fell in love with it there. Used it like nuts. That I think that was early 21, and I was still working with the Manscaped crew, and
Hmm.
like I was just pumping out stuff like gangbusters, and it was great for what it was. This is just me, nothing against them. Great tool, but just not for me right now. Then I shifted to something else very shortly. There's a bunch of cheaper people trying to come up with their own variations, trying to hop on the trend. And you guys started up 2022, was it?
Yes. Fall of 22. Mhm.
Yeah. And so I came in January, February of 23, I think it was.
Wow, that's
I
V1,
think.
early days.
Right. And the whole transition from Jasper and what they had then of, you have to handhold it the whole way to, oh, here's a bunch of keywords and context and whatnot, settings and jazz, punch it. Oh my God, I have an article.
Mm,
Can I cuss?
absolutely.
I was just like, holy living fuckballs. Like, what is this? Like magic. And I'm talking about content at scale, obviously. And like total game changer. And
Mm,
then I did it wrong, the transition wrong from human AI to content AI. And I was like at that 15-ish, it was like 14,800 and change or whatever, 14,800 and like $57 a month or whatever I was on content expenses.
mm,
And for writing content expenses. I wish it was video expenses. So it was February, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, somewhere right in there of last year, when maybe the 8th, when Google announced. It's funny how when you're an SEO, you remember dates from Google and their updates and whatnot.
always.
Whatever that date was, Google said, hey, we're giving the okay on AI
Mm.
written content. We just want
Yep.
quality content. And I'm like, full fucking steam ahead. And
Same here.
right, because I was
Yep.
very like, I wasn't using it where I was using it. It was in places that I don't care if it didn't
Mm,
matter if I was ranking or not in other contexts, like when I was using Jasper the year prior. Even then it was heavily edited because it's 2 years ago. AI shenanigans, how far we've come. And
yeah.
and now like now like you mentioned, I'm even under that 5K mark now. And
Mm,
that transition, it was straight 100% AI and just having my team manage the production. And then it was, oh, this guy's kind of shit right out the gate. I mean, it's better than what it was, but I need to handhold this a little bit more. And then then you guys came out with the AIO framework or approach or whatever you
mhm,
technique or however you want to call that. I'm like, this makes more sense in
mm.
the
That's
way to
great.
produce content.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I love your reaction when you saw it because I think, especially for experienced SEOs, something that Content at Scale did that was, I will say, entirely brand new in the until constant scale and the founder and the developer basically cracked the code was figure out how to produce undetectable content with AI. Because what happened last year, 2023, was at the beginning, Google actually did say it was a headline on Search Engine Land. I think it was February. They were like, AI content is considered spam. And we were all like, and then constant scales content couldn't be detected. So it was like, ooh, but I have like this secret weapon. And then we all saw
Yeah.
on Twitter, it was Danny Sullivan that actually responded to a tweet where someone publicly called Google out saying, oh, CNET is ranking and it's all AI generated. Like it was garbage content and it was all
Yeah.
ranking. And so Danny answered and he's like, oh, we never said AI content is bad. And then you saw everything change and it was like high quality content is rewarded. It doesn't matter how it's produced. So, oh, okay.
Yep.
Google made a 180 there.
Yeah, because like that week that you're talking about, when they made that comment about it being spam, a month or so prior, they made very clear statements about, I'm paraphrasing, don't do AI content, which is very, and then they came out
Yeah.
and clarified hey, it's spam. And then of course, the 8th or February, whatever that date was when they said it's
Mhm.
allowed. Like you just said, Danny said, like I said, full steam ahead after that.
Yes, exactly. That just gave us an open door. And what was cool about Constant at Scale, which I haven't seen in any other tools to date, I was testing another one just yesterday, is, once you have the content produced, you're not looking at a static web page where the content is just there and you got to like copy it and you got to figure out, well, I don't know where the sources are. You have this editor experience. So with all the extraordinary savings that you're seeing with the AIO approach and using AI as the basis, you've also seen some amazing traffic results. And I know you consult and guide the strategies of some pretty major sites in the industry, which is amazing to see. So, could you speak to the results you're seeing as well with traffic, domain growth, all that good stuff?
Like any SEO worth their salt, I have my own website it's my own sandbox that I'll try. I've never done black hat of any kind for clients, but my website over here is where I'll try anything under the sun. And in fact, I tanked it. It was so bad. Anyway, it's
Oh
growing back, but
no.
uh
Good.
20 the bulk of 23, like we only got up to like 18,000 visitors a month in the brain fog space, specifically brain fog, and grew that
Hmm.
like 100% with AI.
Oh wow.
I like in the early days, like we have like 400 or 500 articles now. There might be 30, 40 that are 100% human written. So prior to a recent up, I did a bunch of PBN links. Just it was my anyway, and so I tanked it. But prior to me tanking it, 2,000, 2,500 visitors a month to 18,000, and now back down to like 6,000 visitors a month. That was I did a bunch of black hat stuff there too, but 100% AI. But outside of that, I have a multi-billion-dollar client that I can't say their name. I can say they're in the real estate space. That's pretty broad. Everybody and their mother in America would know them, and
Hmm.
so many visitors, so many tens of thousands of pages that we just needed crap ton of content. And their content team was only like 5, 6 people for the entire website for like everything. So like this gets into a lot of programmatic SEO, with all the different locations and counties and everything.
Hmm.
5, 6 people can't manage that much content, especially when we're spinning up stuff so quick. And so AI was a big piece to that in solving that puzzle. And so a lot of it was content at scale. And then
Hmm.
so with them, we started at it was like 320,000 monthly visitors, and that was late 2022. It was right before Christmas when we signed them. Like it was after Thanksgiving, and now they're just peaking right under 1 million a month, and that's
Hmm.
100% AI content with the AIO approach. It's not just plug and play or just print and
Yeah.
publish. It's print, heavy edit, sometimes a lot less editing, publish. And then we have a supplement brand. This is a fun one. So they have a great branding. So that this really helps on all fronts.
Mm.
But they
Yeah.
have with them, I look at their KPIs a little bit differently just because of the way our conversations are structured. So I can tell you a rough number on the monthly traffic they get, but the or the organic traffic revenue that was generated in 22 was uh in 21, they were climbing, things are doing great. They had just passed $1 million in annual revenue for all organic traffic. Some they
Mm.
hit some update, tanked them, hired us late 21, early 22, and for 22 we climbed it back up, like a slow creep up to 600,000 in revenue for the year. And then 23 was 1.2 million in total revenue. So we doubled the traffic.
Mm.
We doubled the revenue from organic traffic, largely SEO, predominantly SEO. But all of that was content at scale.
Wow. That's
And then
incredible.
yeah,
Amazing. I
so
mean, just to double traffic in 1 year.
we didn't double the traffic. The traffic went up by like a little over 50%. But our big thing was
Mm.
conversions, because their thing was like, we don't care about traffic, we don't care
Mm.
about any of these things. We want money, like any
Yeah.
wise business person is going to think. So we focused a heavy amount on convert. a heavy amount on conversions. And then, because like the first half of the
Mm.
year was Crow sort of shenanigans. Oh, we got this converting. Now let's start picking up the traffic. Because their traffic,
Mm.
they're only at like 16, 17,000 monthly visitors right now, generating uh, now over six figures a
Wow.
month on revenue from that. So yeah, the
Mm.
first half of the year of 23 was Crow, and the second half was okay. Now let's actually try to grow the traffic. But during that entire time, all the content we did was content at scale. In fact, but yeah,
Wow.
content at scale.
Did you find that that content lended well to conversion, or what were some of the things you added to help those conversions increase?
So this comes back to that link that I mentioned. I'm going to send you if you want to share it with whoever. It's just a Google Doc.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, we'll do
okay,
that in the comments or
so
description.
I'm going to back up. It's only been in the last 6 months that I've been wearing non-black shirts. I wear long sleeve black shirts, athletic shirts, uh, skinny jeans that are flexy, and uh, Jordan ones of some sort. I've been wearing that for like 8 years. Like that's my wardrobe. People know me because of that. Or I used to have an epic long beard and friends with beard dudes. Anyway, point is, I love Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, I fell in love with Steve Jobs
Mm,
and Apple early days. I say early days, early
same.
iPhone days. I've read every Steve Jobs book. Have been heavily influenced by him and his life, the good parts, along with other, entrepreneurs, Noah Kagan, Tim Ferriss. Probably
Mhm.
those are the three biggest names who have ever influenced me living that I've ever met outside of, I've only met Noah. Anyway, um, and I want to get into entrepreneurship. I'm dead broke. This is before I got married. So I'm 17, 18, 19. So several years prior, I got married at 22. Don't get married young. You're stupid when you're young. At least I was. Um, and
Great.
right. And
Same.
I've always had an entrepreneurial mindset. I hate 9 to 5. I want my autonomy.
Mhm.
And and so I'm like, okay, I'm going to learn from Steve Jobs. Well, where did Steve Jobs teach, or did he ever teach? And so he did lectures and stuff at Stanford. And
Mm,
way back, Apple had Apple University. It's not a thing anymore, but they partnered with the first one, I believe, was Stanford University, and Stanford gave away their entire 4 year entrepreneurial program, the lectures, the course notes, the a lot of the textbooks in digital form. They gave it all away, and I
mm.
consumed their entrepreneurial program in about 2 years. Like I was diligent. In fact, I didn't finish I'm six math classes away from a bachelor's in uh, visual communications, technically, and but I didn't finish all that. I literally failed my last 2 semesters because I was one lazy, and I was like, I don't need a piece of paper to tell me I'm a good photographer and can take good videos. But I was also heavily
I
consuming
like
this
that.
entrepreneurial content, right? This stuff from
Mm.
Stanford. And
Yeah.
in there, they did a bunch of market research in this one particular semester of all this stuff. And I don't remember any of it. And when I got married, and my life had totally changed. Just going from single dude to married dude, totally different. And trying to do my own thing. Fast forward to I don't remember what year. It was the year I started with Dr. Axe. And they put me in a good hard place. They said, the phrase,
Mm.
between a hard place and a rock. Well, they said,
Mm. Yum.
here's the budget that we're going to give you. This is the amount of backlinks that we need, and these are the big keywords we want you to go after: green tea, collagen, essential oils, like big keywords, millions of monthly searches. And their goal was to get past 10 million monthly visitors from Google or from organic.
Wow.
And so when I came in, they were like at 2.8 million or something like that. And no, they were
Hmm.
under that, under a million. And so they gave me all these big keywords, and they said, we want this many backlinks ideally, but here's your budget. And it was a fat budget. It was a fat budget, but it didn't meet my cost of backlink acquisition. And so I had to figure out how to do that. So effectively lower my costs without
Mm.
lowering quality. And I just, even then, never did PBNs or any other link spam sort of. I never even did comment links. I did in the beginning for myself, but it was just 100% pure skyscraper at scale. Um,
Mm.
and I'm in WeWork sort of place in Nashville, And me and my buddy, I'm talking to him yesterday still. He had a bathroom partitions, and which is the walls inside of a public bathroom, the dividers, the partitions. And then he had a commercial door company. And, when you're doing skyscraper and you punch in a keyword into Ahrefs and you download everybody and their mother, and then you email them, there's only so many keywords you can go after
Mm.
with that. There's only so many keywords that will yield quality links, because you can hit up everybody and their mother and get DR5 all day long and whatever, but that only moves the needle so much versus big fat DR links that are quality. I remember I got a single backlink
Mm.
from Ahrefs and Moz, and this is just my personal site. I went from Google, like 700-800 visitors a month, to little over or a little under, right around the 2,000 visitors a month mark. And like nothing changed. And that was from Google, other than those heavy hitting backlinks. And so I needed more backlinks. So me and my friend, the door guy, bathroom partitions door guy, we're in there, and we have a big whiteboard. And I remembered, I literally clearly sitting there, rocking back in my chair, and I remembered something back from that Stanford research program, entrepreneurial program, but the market research section. And it was a mind map, nothing fancy. I don't even remember how I made that connection to what ended up on our whiteboard, but here's what it was. And this is what allowed me to scale everybody and their anytime there's quality content and quality backlinks available in certain markets, if there's a budget, we can go after that. And so here's what we did. Bathroom partitions, the keyword, or bathroom walls, all the variations of that keyword. Again, there's only so many publications that are going to talk about bathroom partitions. Like you scrape the bottom of the barrel very quick. And so I had to find, and that's where this conversation led to, because he had scraped the bottom of the barrel already. And so we're trying to figure out how we can get more backlinks. And I'm like, well, let's zoom out of the topic. I hadn't learned I don't remember. Up until this point, I was just learning about silos and content hubs and topic clusters or topical SEO or holistic SEO. None of that was a regular conversation at this point. And so I'm like, okay, bathroom doors, bathroom partitions. If we zoom in, you can zoom into like quality of the wood, quality of the paint for industrial purposes, but you're going to scrape the bottom of that barrel very quickly too. But if we zoomed out of that topic, now we're getting into commercial construction, or you could zoom out to commercial construction from that topic. And then if you're in commercial construction, what is a shoulder niche of commercial construction? DIY construction. So we went up we zoomed out of the topic and scooted over and went down that. So now we're getting backlinks from everybody and their mother about in the DIY topic, DIY commercial construction. But then there was the problem of, how does DIY commercial construction, DIY construction align with bathroom partitions? Like that doesn't work. So we had to get creative. And like we have all of this content over here on bathroom partitions and whatnot. So then we wrote new stuff and edited old stuff. We edited the content in such a way that elements of those articles were relevant to the people talking about DIY construction. So now when I reach out to someone talking about DIY construction in their home, I can say, hey, total old school skyscraper email. Hey, love this post that you wrote. I actually wrote something with an interesting angle on it in regards to bathroom partitions. Can I show it to you? Traditional old school skyscraper approach, which people still inundate. I'm sure you probably even more than me with that sort of stuff and pitches. And now we're getting backlinks. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's deeper? If we go deeper into DIY construction, we can talk about bathrooms. We can talk about internal design. Internal design. Is that the right phrasing? There's so many topics underneath DIY construction that we can talk about. And as long as I have a piece of content relevant on my site, I can make that work. Does that make sense? So on this whiteboard, what we brain vomited was a mind map of all of these topics, shoulder niche, directly underneath, directly above the topic of bathroom partitions. And so when we're done, I probably still have a picture of it somewhere on my Google Drive because everything backs up there, or Apple, whatever. And when we were done, we had this huge mind map of all of these potential topics. But this is our approach for whether it was, regardless of the client we've worked with, this has been our approach for everything. And so that allows us to then go after backlinks at scale, as long as we have a piece of content that is semi or very relevant to all these other shoulder niches and sub niches and broader niches. As long as that's the case, we can make a backlink happen. And so that opens up the door like motherfucking gangbusters. Like
Oh my goodness. Wow.
for Dave Ramsey, they wanted to go after the biggest keyword I've ever gone after. I don't know if I can say that specific keyword, but it with numbers associated at the time is like with all the variations of the keyword, misspells and whatnot, it was around 5.2 million monthly searches for this one topic in English in America. It was big. Keyword difficulty of 90, upper 90s, the biggest keyword and challenge I ever went after. We did a bunch of things to make this happen. But, you know, in the real estate niche, especially forever and even until this day, everyone and their mother wants you to pay for a backlink. Anyone in the financial space has always wanted that forever. And so that approach of the mind map approach allowed us to find other topics and just find all the in between the cracks topics and go after backlinks. So we were getting for one keyword, we were landing like hard acquiring 130 to 170 backlinks a month, like great backlinks.
Wow.
And you know, some of them were sponsorship stuff to a certain degree, but you know, in whatever it was, year and a half, years time frame, I can't remember the exact time frame. We went from 270-ish thousand monthly visitors to well over 1 million. The approach is the same. So coming back to your original question of how did we, once Content AI spit out its first version, what do we do to make that so convertible to cash? When we have all these keywords and we have all these topics, a keyword at the end of the day is still an assumption. Because like Dr. Axe, they said, hey, we want to rank for collagen. And okay, sure, they have a collagen product, so it makes sense that there's going to be a financial alignment there. But they wanted to go after green, black tea, a handful of other keywords that they weren't. They may have been selling essential oils at this time. Essential oils was one of the keywords, but some of their keywords didn't align with their product. So like, why would we want that? That's a total assumption that it's going to make money. You know, the logic makes sense. If someone's in essential oils, they're into healthy stuff, so therefore they might buy our stuff. That makes sense. Right around that time, the whiteboard with the door guy, I had heard an interview on, I can't remember his name. I'm drawing a total blank. Andrew something. He had done a bunch of podcasts, and I think he's still doing them. Oh, that's going to bug me. Anyway, and this person that he interviewed talked about interviewing people to get deeper into their psyche as to why they want something, and that we can build the perfect product for them. Well, so with Dr. Axe, I interviewed like 50 paying customers who bought their collagen supplement. And this is like when it first launched. Like Ancient Nutrition wasn't even, this is, hey, we're launching collagen. Or it had just launched it. Interviewed them, and I asked them questions. And this is what I'm going to send you in the document. It's just a Google Doc of interview questions. In fact, I have it open. So it's questions like, what are you trying to achieve and what are you trying to solve? What are the obstacles you're facing when trying to go after said goal? What are your burning questions? 2 to 3 burning questions. Some of the other questions, zooming down, there's only 11. I asked them, would you buy it again? And I record all this. And one thing I say is, would you, if you were right here trying to convince me to buy this product that you love, you just told me about it and it's helped you, how would you convince me to buy it? From the horse's mouth, from a paying customer, they tell me how, they give me the words from the horse's mouth to use to convince them. And then I say, now give me the same answer as if I was a loved one. And the answer, yes, there's bleed over, but it totally changes. And this interview, coming back to, again, the question, how do we make money with the content or really make it convert? Oh, you're going after I'm a hobby of a speed cubing, and oh, you want to sell speed cubes, and you want to rank for these things. I'm going to go out. I'm going to interview these people. I'm going to ask them, what's your goal in trying to achieve it? All
Mm,
these things. When you're buying a new cube with all these magnets in it
mm. So
and all
smart.
this different types of lube. And so what these questions do is they inform not only your fucking sales page and your ads and every
Mhm.
aspect of marketing material that you should use, but they also tell you how to convince someone to do something when they come from Google. So when you are going after how to solve a speed cube, you know, or how to solve a Rubik's cube is the biggest keyword there in that genre. How to solve a Rubik's cube, you know, I'm going to look at Google. I'm going to Google the keyword. I'm going to do my best to just in my mind, right there, looking at the SERP, reverse engineer the intent from there. And I'm going to look at all the content. How is the content structured? What type of content? Who are they speaking to? All these things. Then I'm going to write that content.
Mm,
And as we're writing that content or editing that content from an AI, we're going to sprinkle in elements from our interviews. Our intros, our headlines, our call to
mm,
actions are going to speak to our paying customers or the people we have a history of paying us for whatever product the product is. So for example, we have a person in the financial space. When you've worked with Dave Ramsey and Dr. Axe and the biggest healthcare companies in the world, literally, that I can never say publicly. Um,
mm.
uh,
Dang it.
I know if you just looked at the top 50 companies, Fortune 100 companies, there's only a handful of the healthcare space, and you could
Mm.
there's like 10 and you can guess, or maybe they don't, it doesn't matter. I
Not
only
hard.
attract I know I largely attract financial clients or health and wellness, health, medcare clients, whatever. And so I have this financial client, amazing, her whole brand is such a dope everything, time on site and click-throughs in the last Q3 of last year, Q4 of last year. Our click through was 2.2, low twos, and now we're averaging 5
Mm,
site wide.
mm.
And our time on site has gone from, I want to say it was like 148 and change. It was right under 150. I remember numbers weird. A minute 50, right under there. And now we're
Mm,
right over 3 minutes. What did we do to do
mm.
that? We interviewed some
Wow.
of their audience. In this case, we didn't have to interview. We just had an immense amount of data, like millions of
Mm.
rows of surveys. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
easy. Yeah,
Gold.
and it's so gold. And so I had in
Mhm.
that data, I had my answers to my interview questions. And so I took that data,
Mm.
edited the content, just did a bunch of A/B tests, and I don't have any software, so I didn't use any software to do it. So we just literally kept track of in the sheet. Here's the hypothesis. Here's the before, or the control. Here's the after. Here's the results, and end date. Basic A/B test sort of thing. And all we tested, I say all we tested, largely all we tested was the headlines, the intro, and right under the intro was a call to action to, and this is a big piece to coming back to your how did we monetize question, was, oh, you're talking about how to solve a 3x3, three squares up,
Mm.
three squares over. If I put a call to action, if there's an article, how to solve a 3x3 and get under 30 seconds, and I put a call to action that said the master guide to learning the 4x4, four squares up, four squares over. That, sure, it's a speed cube, but that's still a pretty notable disconnect. It doesn't
Mm.
line up. So having
Hmm.
so back to that health and wellness client where we basically doubled the revenue, but didn't even come close to doubling the traffic. We had like 10-ish different lead magnets, all on different topics that are highly relevant to that topic, whatever it was. Um, and so that comes back to the content upgrade thing, which I think Brian Dean again coined that term way back. Um, and so it's just knowing what your customers want intimately. When I say intimately, every client, I've taken three web, three maybe four websites to from under a million to over a million, one over 10 million, and dozens into the six
Mm.
figure a month range in traffic. And most of
Wow.
those have sustained that and gone on to grow beyond that and have made so many hundreds of millions. It's not even funny how much some of these people make from organic traffic. Every single time those interviews questions inform my backlink, mind map approach. Literally every client, I have, I think I have an older one that's my personal thing for the brain fog thing. If I still have it, I'll send that over with the interview questions for as an example. So that will inform. Now, here's the hilarious part: the interview questions will inform my intent, desire, obstacles, fears, burning questions, all these things. So that'll help with all sales and conversions and click
Mm.
throughs. That'll inform your
Mm.
engagement from Google. That will inform your engagement for the clicks. That will then, the mind map of all these topics will give me a map literally of where to go to look for backlinks. I
Mm.
can't say that enough. Like,
Wow.
you want 200-300 backlinks a month or more, like, this is how we've done it. At one point, we were producing almost 1,000 a month for one client. That was the
Mm.
fattest contract I've ever signed myself. The hilarious thing after this is I remember very vividly years ago, Matthew Barbie, who is now, I think he's with Decentraland, but he was, the head of growth at HubSpot for a good minute,
Mm. Yum.
basically SEO. And he did it in AMA. And I asked him if there's one thing, and this is way back, a long time ago. I asked him something to the effect of, if there is one thing you were going to focus on, or one thing SEOs should focus on more, something like that, what is it? And he said, and his answer was simple: site architecture, silos. When you're looking at your mind map, right? You have, oh, here's brain fog, my mic. Here's the topic of brain fog. Here's the 5 subcategories of under brain fog, or subcategories, topics. How to get rid of brain fog. What is brain fog? Natural remedies, medications, things like that. And then under each of those, like under natural remedies, you could have nutrition, and under there you have foods that help with brain fog. Granted, brain fog can be caused from sugar, for Pete's sake, or drugs and medication can be caused from it.
Mm.
Brain fog is a common symptom, not a ailment. But so there's all of these topics from the topic of brain fog, right? Well, how the hell do you think I'm going to structure my website and all the topics the way it is on the mind map? Does that make sense? So the mind map then becomes, once done accurately, so you do your interview questions, you organically just throw this up on a mind map, just throwing up the topics, organizing it all, brain fog, brain vomiting, all the other subtopics that you can come up with off your top of your head. Then you back that up with digital, like our SOPs. We have it's literally titled analog research and digital research. Under the analog research is all this stuff where it's analog: mind maps, awareness maps, attention shenanigans, just stuff that comes from our head without doing any research on the computer. Then we get on the computer, back that mind map up with data, delete what's there, what doesn't need to be there, add more, put numbers behind it. And now we have a fully fleshed out content map that will last you for fucking ever. You want a year's worth of daily content? Give me less than a week and I'll give it to you for almost any topic, backed by data. And then that structure of the mind map is how you structure your website. So now it tells you how to structure your silo on the website, and how and if you do this is how I've always interlinked
Wow.
forever. I don't remember how I learned this, probably a Brian Dean or probably a Neil Patel thing. As whatever his site was before neilpatel.com, quick sprout, something, it had a leaf in the logo, is green. I learned a lot there.
Yes. Yes. Quick spouse was it?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interlinking structure is, so now I can visualize 3 tiers of content, of categories: brain fog, top tier, 5 categories, I'm making up numbers, 5 subcategories, and maybe 10 articles under each of those subcategories. Well, if you just Google SEO silo, click on images in Google, you'll see pictures of exactly what I'm talking about. And then for interlinking, you just link up 1 and link down 1. You do that once for everything. So if it's brain fog, the top article of brain fog, or top category page, whatever that looks like, of brain fog, will link down to the 5 subcategories. Each of those 5 subcategories will link to their 10 articles underneath, and each the same going up. Then once that's done, then if I see category 1 and category 5, and maybe there's an article underneath each of those that it legit makes sense and adds value to link to them, then you do that. The first one takes no thinking. The second one, because it's just link up, one category, down one category. The second aspect to that, you have to think, oh, does this make sense to link over here? And you just got to figure that out. But
Mm.
the interview questions inform the mind map. The mind map informs where you should start with your keyword research. The keyword research gives data to everything. Now you have a data-driven mind map that tells you where to produce content, what topics to produce content on, and how to structure your site, and where to go look for backlinks. And this is why it's important. I had a client, pretty notable guy. I'm not gonna say his name. He's still a friend to this day, but he was very entrepreneurial and media buying focused, and that's how he grew to like 7-8 million a year on paid ads. Then he's like, hey Keith, we want to do SEO and start investing organically. Great. And he's telling me he has, it was like 63, 64, 65 articles already written for his audience. And I'm like, great, that's a huge head start. And this is way before AI. And he's like, and I asked him, where did you get the idea for these content? He's like, oh, I just know my audience really well, so I told my team what to write. He pulled it out of his ass, and I didn't sign him as a client. Then he comes back 4 or 5, 6 months later. Yeah, none of that is working. Nothing is. We're spinning our wheels. Wasted all that time and money. I'm like, of course you didn't. And he's a friend, so I was blunt with him. He's like, you're fucking dumbass. You pulled content out of your ass, and that's what you delivered. And instead, if you don't start with assumptions, because a keyword is an assumption. So you need as much data backing your assumptions, and the assumptions are then validated when you fucking make money. Like the traffic is great, but it's the making money that allows us to scale and grow and be profitable, whatever. So until we make money, SEO is entirely an assumption, every aspect. So if I have a client over here wanting to buy 3x3 speed cubes, and I do everything for 4x4, 4x4 again, speed cubes, or 5x5 or whatever, or Rubik's cubes, which are not like this I have like 3 different types of lube in here. There's 80 something magnets in this thing, no springs, it's fast, it's highly controllable. Rubik's cube is not. They're great for intro people, but trash compared to these. So those two markets are totally different. So if I am aiming down the range a gun, and I'm shooting a mile away, if I'm off by fraction of a millimeter in my scope, in my sights, I'm going to be off by yards potentially at the target. Same thing here. If I can understand what people are wanting, why they're buying it, their intentions, their desires, their all of that, and start from the horse's mouth and have true sights aiming down range, it works. And so that approach from interview questions to paying clients, that's paying customers, that's the huge thing here. That's everything. Interviewing the paying customers, producing the mind map. The mind map tells you where to go get content, what content to produce, how to structure your site, or backing it with data. Tells you how to produce, what content to produce, how to structure your site, and where to go get backlinks. So coming back to your original, and I know that's a can of worms, but that is everything. Like, that's my process. That's our SOPs. Name a big client that I've done fat numbers for or grew by big numbers. That's what we did every time. Like, these interview questions are part of every onboarding period. Like, period.
Wow.
So coming back to your question of how did we monetize? We did this. I'm pointing at my screen with these questions. We took these questions and took that information and weaved it into our content. So Content at Scale would spit out our content. It'd be great, do some editing, sometimes tons of editing, sometimes very little. Regardless of the amount of the editing that is done, our intros, headlines, and call to actions sprinkled throughout, and our outro are completely derived from these interview questions completely. And doing that and then having opt-ins that are very specific, everyone watching this, go Google content upgrade, look at the original, if you can find the original backlinko article, because like a content upgrade is not what would be a good example. Thinking on 3x3s, how to solve a Rubik's cube. I say, hey, get this whole article as a PDF. Yeah, that could be one thing, so you can take it on the road. That's not, no, I just leave the tab open. I don't need a PDF. And how the hell do you even access a PDF on a
Mhm.
on an iPhone? Like in files? Who like
Mhm.
what? Or because like me personally, I'm stuck at right about 20 to 25 seconds right in there. And I'm that's where I am in like time frame to get below here. So if I'm reading an article, how to get faster at the 3x3, or some very relevant article, whatever the title is, and I see a call to action, are you stuck at 20 seconds and can't get down to the 15-second mark? If so, download this detailed checklist on how to do that. That's a terrible example, but you get the idea. If I know the intent of the reader, I can give them a
Mhm.
very specific
Yeah.
upgrade in the content to help them get to where they want. They get the content upgrade, not just a league magnet, content
Mhm.
upgrade, cherry on top of the whipped cream, whatever. And of course, the thank you page is a detailed sales page in some form or fashion. With supplements, oftentimes long form, very long form sales pages still work. SaaS, it could be oftentimes a VSL will work. Just everything is different. You just got to test it for yourself and your own audience. But again, it all starts from those interview questions.
Well,
So
we
I
will
know that
definitely
was
share those in the description. Thank you so much for just being willing to
totally,
share your process and the
yeah,
questions with us and go through all of that. I mean, it's amazing, to see the inside of traffic at scale and what really does that. So to wrap this up, how could we learn more about you, follow you, tell us where to find you?
my agency. If you want us to do this stuff for you, the Traffic Dojo, just how it sounds, spelled it out. .com is our agency site. And then my personal blog, where I'm going to be sharing all, like, you can get more of a done with you approach and just learn from that, that we're getting ready to launch, is socialengines.co.
Mm,
Yeah,
awesome.
so that's my I'm having a lot of fun building all this so I can just help more people. I love this.